If you're having a hard time making ends meet, then make me dinner. How about $30 per meal? Huh? Don't make fun of me. You never once said my cooking was good for 10 years. This tongue of mine that you gave away, I make quite a bit of money. My name is Erin and I went through a divorce 2 years ago. I am 40 years old. The reason for the divorce was my husband cheating on me. Well, it's a common story. We didn't have kids, so the divorce was quickly done. I thought about alimony, but I don't think he would pay me properly anyway. I wanted to get rid of him and start a new life. With a little money I had saved during 10 years of marriage, I decided to take all the appliances, furniture, cookware, etc. instead of asking for alimony. My ex-husband wanted to get a quick divorce and remarry his young unfaithful wife. I took these terms and moved out of the apartment where we lived for 10 years. I love to cook, and from the beginning of our marriage, I cooked many dishes to please my husband. However, he never complimented my food. He would just eat quietly and wouldn't help clean up. When he was at home, he was usually either net surfing on his phone, or watching movies or cartoons on a subscription service. He didn't make that much money. I am also the type of person who would rather work outside the home than stay at home. I worked part-time at a nearby hamburger shop. It is not a chain hamburger place, but rather a place that sells the taste of home cooking, with an original menu. The shop was cozy and the staff could participate in the creation of new menu items each season. I was happy and encouraged when customers were pleased with my hamburgers. It was much more enjoyable than cooking for my husband, who was unresponsive to anything I made. After the divorce, I continued to work at the hamburger shop. I was given a few extra hours so I could make enough money to live on. I was also given unsold leftover hamburgers, which helped me on my budget considerably. Erin's idea for the new menu is very well received. I don't feel bad when my part-timers compliment me on my new menu item. One day, the owner of a hamburger shop came to the store. It is not only a hamburger shop he owns. He is a successful owner of several restaurants in the region. There are 3 hamburger shops. I'm not sure if I'd call it a wide range of other things, like donut shops, pizza shops, hot dogs, etc. He runs a variety of restaurants that are a bit immodest. He is about 50 years old. He's a cheerful guy. Hey, there. Sales have been good at this store lately. The other stores aren't bad either, but this one stands out. He praised us cheerfully. I wasn't feeling so bad about it. Then a younger woman, a fellow part-timer, said, "It's because of Erin. The hamburgers she makes are delicious and well received." She said so. Oh, no. I can't get you anything even if you compliment me like that. When I shyly said that, other part-time colleagues also said, "No, Erin, what do you call it? You know, like perfect pitch in music." I think it's definitely something like a perfect sense of taste. He say that. Huh? That's great. The owner looked at me curiously. Everyone, please. What the heck is the perfect sense of taste anyway? I had never heard that term before. You never forget the taste of a dish once you've had it, and you can recreate perfectly what you thought was delicious at a restaurant. My part-time friends would say so, but I didn't think it was so special at all. When I went out to eat or had a meal at a friend's house, I would taste the food that I thought was good. I would remember the ingredients, the seasonings, and the hidden taste, and then I would go home and make it again. Yes, all the dishes are good. The owner picks up the side dishes before putting them into containers and enjoys them. You're nibbling on the sly. The youngest part-timer scolded me. Well, I'll excuse myself. I greeted the owner and was about to leave, but I got stopped. Aaron, do you have any plans for today? If you'd like, I'd like to hang out with you for a bit. I'm single, so I don't have any particular plans. Is that a corporate mandate? I said jokingly, and the owner replied. Is it a date that is more like a corporate mandate? He responded with a nice flirtation. I had seen his face a few times before and said hello, but then I thought I liked this guy a lot. The owner's name is Rufus, and the restaurant chain he runs is called Rufus Chain. He took me there in a company car with the name Rufus Chain on it. It is a donut shop that just opened recently. I'm sorry, but do you mind if I order? Of course. I have nothing to complain about as long as you treat me to a meal. But I was surprised at the amount of food that was brought to me one after another. How many dishes did he order? You don't have to eat all of it. I just want you to taste it. What a surprise, he really took seriously what my part-time colleague said and wanted to ask my opinion. I thought this was a big responsibility, but I love to eat good food. I was willing to help. We didn't start by pulling out chefs from famous restaurants. We're still trying things out. If you feel something, please let me know. I am not very comfortable with giving bad feedback on dishes that others have prepared for me. I gave my opinion on a few dishes that caught my attention. This might be a little too much olive oil. I think this would taste better with a little more garlic. For this sauce, I think the pasta should be thicker. Just like that. The owner was very thankful and happy, and I was full and happy. I didn't want to leave any food behind, so I took the leftovers home. This would save me money on food for one more meal. Can I take you out to dinner again? He asked so. Is this a date closer to a corporate mandate? I asked him with a smile. I guess it's more of a corporate mandate than a date. And the owner laughed. This is how we started our relationship. We are not only at the restaurant he owned, but also at other famous places and discussed. That place tastes good, but they should be more careful with their tableware. I'd like to try a ramen shop next time. What toppings would you use? I'm not sure if it's a good place for a woman to go, but I'm sure it's a good place for a man. I don't mind it though. Taste is one thing, but the waitstaff's attitude is the worst. Don't you do sweet shops? It was a lot of fun to walk around eating while talking about such things. 2 months had passed since our first business order date. I visited the owner's home and served him home-cooked meals. The owner's house was a modest rental apartment, which was hard to imagine for a successful businessman. I just go home and sleep. I can eat at the restaurant so. Actually, I got divorced 5 years ago. My wife asked me which was more important, me or my work. I was finally getting my restaurant off the ground, and I was really into it. I didn't pay attention to my wife at all, and she cheated on me. He was a little dejected and told me so. Is that so? I'm divorced too. I knew my husband was cheating on me. I wonder what it is in my case. Maybe he cheated on me with a young woman because I'm not attractive. I was the typical bread is better than the songs of birds type. I was the type of person who would rather eat delicious food than spend money on clothes and cosmetics. It's not that you're unattractive. It's all your husband's fault. I feel bad about my ex-wife, too. I was happy to hear him say so, even if it was just to flatter me. While talking about such things, I cooked the dishes and put them on the table. Handmade Chinese dumpling and potato salad. It was his request. Oh, the meal was delicious, but freshly made food tastes so much better. When people are so happy to eat my food, it makes me feel really happy and makes it worthwhile. I'm so happy. My ex-husband had never complimented my food. When I said that, the owner was surprised. What? What a stupid man. How could he give up his wife who cooks such delicious food? I almost cried a little when he said that. If only my husband had been happy to eat my food, maybe we would have gotten along a little better. 3 months after my first home-cooked meal we had together, the owner proposed to me. We'll make Rufus N a chain of restaurants that will please our customers even more. These were the words of the proposal. It's more of a business proposal. I laughed and said so. I'm sorry. I'm kind of shy. No, it's not good. I have to say what's important. Aaron, I love you. Will you marry me? He turned bright red and said so. Yes, with pleasure. His energy made me reply like I was a bar clerk. Upon getting married, Rufus moved out of his 1DK apartment and built a house with a large yard, where he could have large parties. The kitchen is as well equipped as a small restaurant kitchen. I spend my days there inventing recipes and cooking for my dear husband. I can buy expensive ingredients without worrying about the price. How happy I am. That day, I attended a meeting of the new menu of the hamburger shop where I used to work. I was helping out in the crowded restaurant in the evening. Aaron, since you've got married to a wealthy husband, why don't you just stay a gracious wife? I have to catch a man's stomach. I'll do my best. My former part-timers teased me a lot like that. At that time, there was a customer who was talking to me in a too friendly manner while I was working at the cash register. I didn't know you were still working here. I looked closer and saw that it was my ex-husband. He had lost a lot of weight and looked pale. He is not among the happy to see me again, and there is a line of customers waiting their turn behind him. I'll be busy after you finish checking out, so please hurry home and eat your lunch while it's still warm. I hurried him away so my coworkers didn't find out that it was my ex-husband. 3 days later, however, at a donut shop that I had my first date with my ex-husband, I ran into him again. Since I married the owner, Rufus, I have been visiting all the restaurants almost daily. I check the taste of ingredients and dishes, give advice, and consult on new menus. I also consult with them on new menu items. That donut shop had an open kitchen. I could be seen in the kitchen from the audience. That is why my ex-husband, who came to the restaurant as a customer, found me there. The woman next to him was probably his young wife who he remarried to. She was wearing flashy makeup, long nails, and revealing clothes, and was eating a plate of food. He had his wife with him at the moment. He was not talking to me in a crowded store, though. But I did hear him mumble something like, "You're working double time, huh?" as he was making fun of me. Well, sure, you see me working in a hamburger shop during the day. If you see me working in the kitchen of a donut shop at night. I thought to myself, normally, people would think I was working a double job. I didn't feel any emotion when I saw my ex-husband and ex-fling's wife. I thought that my ex-husband was already a thing of the past for me. The next day, however, I received a phone call from my ex-husband. I'm still using the same phone I used when I was married, so he should know my number. I didn't expect he would call me. It's hard to work double time, isn't it? You, like an old lady, are so desperate for a living, it's pathetic. As soon as I answered the phone, he suddenly said that. For a moment, I wasn't sure what he was talking about. In the first place, I'm not doing double work like my ex-husband thinks I am. Even if he was working double time. This is not the way to talk to a divorced wife who works hard for a living. Was he this much of a jerk? I thought. Maybe he looks down on me because he remarried a younger woman. What? What are you saying, calling me out like that? Well, if you're having such a hard time making ends meet, I thought I'd offer you a good job. I don't have a hard life and I don't need you to introduce me to a job. But I was a little curious, so I asked. Part of me thought that I didn't want to be involved in some kind of crime if it was about it. It would be so embarrassing to find out that my ex-husband was a criminal. What kind of a good job is, what kind of job? I guess he thought I was taking the bait. I was surprised to hear my ex-husband say this. I'll let you come over to my house about 3 times a week and cook dinner for me. What are you talking about? What happened to your young remarried wife? Didn't you come to the Italian restaurant with me yesterday? She can't cook at all. My ex-husband said to me as he screamed. It was a bit of a sad cry, but that's none of my business. I remembered my ex-husband's remarried partner's gaudy makeup and long, gawky fingernails. Certainly not the right decor for cooking. When we first got married, she used to cook, but it was either too sweet or too salty. She used uncooked, burnt, or rotten ingredients. When he made pasta with squid ink, he thought the charcoal was ink. That's quite an extraordinary talent. For some reason, people like that are confident enough to feed their food to others without tasting it. But that explains why my ex-husband was so thin. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I complained so much about it that she stopped cooking for me. I'd be happier if she didn't. I just remember how good your cooking used to be. I see. So you miss my cooking. You never once told me my food tasted good while we were married, did you? Don't you think you're being selfish because your remarried partner can't cook? No, you're working double time because you're struggling to make ends meet, too. I'll give you $30 for each dinner you prepare. Don't you think that's a good deal? He thinks he could pay his ex-wife, who was having trouble making ends meet, to come to his house. I was very angry at his insensitivity in asking me to cook for his new wife and himself. I told him the truth. Working double? Struggling to make ends meet? What are you talking about? My husband owns both the hamburger shop and the donut shop. When I said this, my ex-husband was what? He was absolutely lost for words. I got remarried. I didn't have to tell you, did I? My husband owns 10 restaurants in the region. I give advice at each restaurant because my cooking skills and taste are recognized. You're kidding me. I wanted to break off the conversation with my ex-husband for good. My husband and I decided to have a drink at home tonight because we got a rare bottle of wine. Rufus is waiting for me on the living room couch. I mean, what's the point of lying about all this stuff? Anyway, I'm very happy in my work and in my personal life. If you want to eat my meal, you should eat at one of the Rufus chain restaurants. I'm sure they're pretty faithful to my taste. Oh, and why don't you send your young bride to a cooking school? Well, make sure you don't get dumped first.
Bye.
I hung up the phone, ignoring my ex-husband who tried to say something. When I returned to the spacious living room, Rufus was pulling the cork out of a bottle of wine. Sorry to keep you waiting. Is the cheese dry? I'm fine. Was that call from your ex-husband? My husband, who had apparently been stung by my response, asked a little worried. I didn't want him to get the wrong idea, so I told him about my exchange with my ex-husband. He's a stupid man. I can't believe he missed out a wife like you who cooks such good food. Well, that's the reason I ended up with you. He pours wine into my wine glass as he says this. Rufus, you married me for my cooking, didn't you? I say mischievously. I married you for your cooking and for yourself. He laughed and hugged me. After that, I was at a Rufus chain donut shop and a pizza place. I saw my ex-husband several times, but he was always alone. Your ex-husband comes in 3 times a week these days to buy lunch. Always alone. I wonder if his new wife cooks him dinner. And a part-timer who had known her husband for a long time and knew his face when he left her told me. Maybe he left his young wife. I don't know which one was more affectionate, but it doesn't matter to me. My ex-husband seems to be a regular customer of the Rufus chain, just like I said. I had to chuckle at this. Now I'm really happy, but there's actually just one problem. We have been eating so many delicious foods together that we have both gained 10 pounds. We are talking about going to the gym together twice a week from now on.